Welcome back to the Hoop Bar. We have the full crew here. Joel Embiid. He was really hobbled that second half. He wasn't really effective. He was more on the perimeter in that Philly game. Atlanta really did steal that game four from Philadelphia to even the series at 2-2. We kind of saw that a little bit more, not more, but we also saw that with Mitchell. He did carry the Utah Jazz, but they did get blown out by the Clippers to even that series at 2-2. So my question to you guys is, which injury is more significant? With Embiid being out or with Mitchell being out? Let's start with Raul.
Definitely with Embiid being out because he was MVP contender, and he's a big part of that team. So it has to be that. I mean, Mitchell is great and very crucial to that team because nobody else, if you watch, seems to be able to get. They're just letting people shoot. I hate to say it, Matt, but sorry, I know that wasn't part of it. But Jordan Clarkson is a -50 in this series. He's a -50. He's got to wake up and no one else can penetrate. And so if they double him and they're getting other people to do something, they're not doing it. So he's crucial, of course, but I just feel like to win a championship, Embiid needs to be there.
Tony, what's your opinion between Mitchell and Embiid being more important to their teams?
I'm gonna say Embiid because yesterday he looked gassed at the end of the game. They're up by 18 points. Trae Young had a subpar game in terms of shooting field goal percentage. He saw 43%. Although he had his points, 24 points, 18 assists, he was like 8 for 26, I believe, and he still came back. I think 5 players went in double figure, especially in the second half. That's when they made their comeback, and they couldn't make any stops. Atlanta just kept attacking, bringing getting it closer, and at the end, I mean, Philadelphia had so many chances to win. They just couldn't make the shots. And Embiid just looked very gassed out, like a daisical. I don't want to say daisical, but he just looked gassed out, and they just weren't making their shots at the end, and they lost. So if Embiid's injured, or then it's a huge blow to the Philadelphia, especially since the series is tied at 2-2. I mean, this can go either way now.
Gons, what do you think? Embiid or Mitchell being hurt, which is worse for their respective teams?
I'm taking the third option, Matt. I'm going to say Mike Conley. I'll tell you why. You have Rudy Gobert, who runs to the basket, who needs a point guard to throw him the ball. You have Bogdanovich, who likes to sit at the three-point line, catch and shoot. You have Joe Ingles, who likes to stay at three-point line, catch and shoot. You have a bunch of players who can shoot the ball damn well. You have a bunch of players that can cut and catch lobs. But what are you going to do when Donovan Mitchell is your point guard? He's a scorer. Granted, he's doing what he can, but he's a score first guard. Well, who's your backup point guard, Matt? Answer me that. Is it on the roster? It's Clarkson. What do you have in Clarkson? You have another Donovan Mitchell, a scoring guy. Their roster doesn't have a point guard to back up Mike Conley. That's a point guard. I'm not saying you need a Mike Conley, but you need someone who can distribute the ball. Shit, give them an Alex Caruso when they could win. That's the missing piece there. I don't care if Mitchell comes back. Yeah, sure, he may get a 50 piece, but it's still going to be a tough series for him. That Mike Conley is detrimental to the series with the players they have. They can't create their offense like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Everyone on the Clippers, Reggie Jackson could do something. The only one that can is Batum. And the other guys are good enough in creating their own offense that they kick out the ball to him. He's still able to get a couple good looks at threes. That's the problem here. In terms of the Philadelphia series, like, if Embiid's hurt, they're not going to win, period. And it goes to these guys' careers. Tobias Harris was on the Clippers. Other teams always struggled, mediocre player. Simmons is getting exploited learn to shoot, like Rahul said. Learn to go to the park. Just learn to shoot, for God's sake. Steph Curry, what happened? You can shoot during the season. You can't shoot during the playoffs? Has he proven himself in the playoffs yet? Like, you ain't the real Curry. The real Indian Curry is Steph Curry. You may get some Thai curry with Steph Curry, but there ain't no Indian curry. I'll tell you that. So that's my take on that, man. I think Mike Conley is the biggest missing piece here for Utah, and Embiid, with him being hurt, they ain't going to win.
Wow. Oh, taking shots at the Thai. Well, we've lost our Thai audience, jeez. All right, guys. So do you agree? Let's start with Tony. Do you agree with the Gons that Mike Conley's a more of a missing piece than either an Embiid or a Mitchell being hurt?
I would say when Utah plays on the road, they struggle more. At home, they're one of the best teams on the road, so all the supporting cast has more confidence. They seem to play a lot better on the road, as you see in the series, because they won all the home games. So that's what Utah is going for them. Now they do miss Mike Conley. He does facilitate, get players involved, especially on the road. And with regards to Donovan Mitchell, I mean, he got his points. Although I do think Patrick Beverly did a good job on him last game. Contain him, not try to stop him, but contain him. So he gave him some hassle down last game. But I think Embiid's a huge if he's injured, he's a huge problem for Philadelphia.
Raul, your thoughts on Mike Conley being a more important loss for the Jazz than Embiid or Mitchell being hurt?
Well, I mean, if Mitchell is not there and Conley is, they're not winning, right? You need Mitchell, but yes, I agree with the Gons that Conley is one of the most important pieces for the Jazz. So it's a shout out to Gons for bringing him up, because we did leave him out, and he with him there, he's gonna get everybody else involved. He's gonna get into the lane. We talk about a guy that has to have IQ on the floor, and not to say Mitchell or anybody else doesn't on that team. There's a lot of smart guys on the Jazz team, but he's the point guard, right? And so he has to be available for them to succeed. So that's a great point, and I think he's something that they're really missing in this series, especially against the Clippers.
Let's start with the Gons. Clippers versus Jazz. They're 2-2. The Clippers just won their first 2 home games, or games 3 and 4, which were home games. Who do you have in this series now?
I'm going to give you my sun-kissed pick. They don't have a point guard unless Mike Conley comes back. So I don't, and the Clippers are hot. They don't have no one to distribute the ball, Matt. Like I said, Clarkson ain't going to cut and pass the ball. Joe Ingles ain't a point guard. Donovan Mitchell ain't a true point guard. You don't have a point guard. You have no one that can create offense. In order for Utah to win, Donovan Mitchell is going to have to do everything. And I don't know that he can score 40, 50 points and get 10, 12 assists. That's asking a lot from him. So, no, I think the Clippers got this in the bag. I think they're going to win the next 2, and that'll be it.
If Conley comes back, does that opinion change?
Oh, yeah. Whole different game. Because Conley comes back, and he's throwing lobs to Gobert, and he's getting Bogdan open. He's getting Ingles open. He's getting Mitchell even more better shots. It would be a completely different series, and Utah wins.
All right, so Tony, Clippers and Jazz are tied 2-2. The Gons thinks it's going to be for the Clippers, but if Conley comes back, the Jazz will take this. So what are your thoughts, Jazz Clippers?
I'm gonna go with the Jazz in a very close game.
Hold on, for the series, not the next game, whole series.
Oh, the series. Oh, I have Clippers in 7. So even if Jazz went to next game, I just think that the Clippers will win the next 2 games. So I think the Clippers will win Game 7 in Utah. Like for the reasons Mitt mentioned. I mean, they just have too much firepower. They're the best 3-point shooting team, one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. And, they've been inconsistent with their shot. But when it's come push and shove, Kawhi will always deliver. I mean, Kawhi, although PG-13 has its ups and downs, but if Kawhi's having a terrific game, then I think PG will step up and have a terrific game as well.
A couple of things really quick. -50 for Clarkson. I mentioned that. I'm sorry, Matt. -30 for Favors in this series. So anytime Gobert is not on the floor, their Clippers are just eating. They're just going right at the rim, and you saw that dunk by Kawhi. If Kawhi Leonard plays with intensity that he did in Game 7 and what you saw last game, you can't stop Kawhi Leonard. There's nobody there that can stop him. And when Kawhi Leonard shoots more than 25 shots, the Clippers are, I Googled this, don't hold me to it. It said 5-2. That's how many times he doesn't take over 25 shots. I think his average is like 16 for the year, for the season, or 17. That's not enough. When he plays aggressive, there's nobody stopping the Clippers. And I think what's going to happen is if the Clippers, which I said the best chance to win is this year because of everything going on, if the Clippers can secure a championship, the Heat would go crazy. But next year, the Clippers will be even tougher because of the experience that not just Paul George, but even Kawhi Leonard will have gained even further experience than what he already has because of playing next to, winning one for LA and playing next to PJ. So Clippers are going to be dangerous. They're on a roll right now. I think tomorrow, the Jazz shot 40% and they still lost from 3-pointers. I agree. If Mike Conley's not there and Mitchell is hobbled, Mr. Superstar Mitchell is hobbled, the Clippers right now are locked in and Kawhi Leonard's locked in. So I'm going to say that the Clippers are going to take this in 6, not even 7. Because if it's 7, then this series is such a toss-up. I wouldn't want to predict anything there in Utah, but I think the Clippers pull it out tomorrow and close at home.
Thank you for watching this clip from the latest episode of the Hoop Bar. Check the description for a link to the full episode on Spotify. Please consider liking and subscribing, and we'll see you next time.